Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Delete Everything Theatre. I'm your host, Patrick Wall. Throughout human history, we've always striven to make each other smile, to lighten the burden of humanity with a laugh. And to that end, nothing has succeeded so well as the common dick joke. Whether it be a subtle hand motion, evoking the act of self-gratification, pretending an object is your penis, or the classic, I'll have what she's having. Genitalia-focused comedy holds a dear place in the human experience. The oldest known dick joke is a riddle. Quote, what hangs at a man's thigh and wants to poke the hole that it's often poked before? The answer? A key. The context, of course, being that before the reveal of a key, the expected response was a penis. The action of poking holes is naughtily prescribed to the phallus by an erotic mind. This classic masturbate and switch motion has been a driver of comedy since time immemorial. Some of the oldest graffiti known to man was discovered in a brothel in Pompeii. It is, of course, a fat, throbbing cock. Today, we explore the history of the dick joke in all its grandeur, from the smallest tickle to the mightiest throb. Hey everybody, thanks again for being here on Delete Everything Podcast, our prehistoric cave painting, showing you all of the lost, forgotten, deleted things that you thought you knew about, but you don't know about it.
You don't know fucking shit. You don't know nothing.
You don't know a fucking thing.
Fucking dumb. You don't know a goddamn thing, idiot.
Asshole.
Fucking idiot. Welcome to the show, everybody.
I'm your head archaeologist, Patrick Wall, and with me, little brown guy.
Hold on. The desiccated remains of what once was a man.
I was going to make you a little brown guy wearing a fez, just running shit back and forth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Riley Bowen, here I am.
There you are. We are happy to have you guys back here. Before we get started, just wanted to remind everyone, please get on Apple Podcasts, get on Spotify, Audible, whatever you're listening to. Leave us 5 stars, leave us a review, and just let us know that you're enjoying the thing, man. We love that. That helps us out immensely. It gets us to a place where we flourish, right? So if you're liking the show, you want us to flourish, that's the way to do it. That's the way to make us tap those little 3 dots and do some stuff, right? Aside from that, we have got Instagram. You can find photos of this episode, any of the other episodes. You'll find us on Delete Everything Podcast, and that is the way to see some videos that we put up. We do some of the videos of our intros. We do photos for every episode. We do some other little silly things in there. And so find us there and follow us. You can send us a message if you want to leave us a show topic, or if you want to say something about yourself. Riley, do you want them to tell you anything in particular?
I got a message today reminding me that on our Black Dahlia episode, I actually said that Ernie Anderson, father of Paul Thomas Anderson, was Sven Gulli, which is wildly incorrect, and I'm fucking ashamed of myself. Yeah, it's Goulardi.
He was Goulardi, yeah.
So if you wanna nitpick something that I said to make me feel like a dumb fucking piece of shit,
or me,
then just send it. Just send it this way. Yeah, good. I'm okay with that.
Delete everything podcast@gmail.com. And if you are like out of things, if you're out of Delete Everything Podcast episodes, and you're like, I have stringently listen to every single minute of you guys. I love it. I've given you all the reviews and all the stuff. Fucking treat yourself, man. You can get Patreon. We've got 40-something episodes, and we put out a new episode every single week. They're all about 45, 50 minutes long, and we have a ton of fun on there. And you can get that for less than what a carton of eggs costs now, right?
Yeah.
$8.
Yep.
$8. So, do you really need eggs? Is it good cholesterol? Is it bad cholesterol? Fucking jury's out on that shit, man. So one year it's good, 1 year it's bad. Just omit them. Omit them like you omit the history that we're about to give you today.
Actually, Patrick, if you want to just stop right there, that was a fantastic segue into our topic today.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Eggs?
Not just eggs, but the consistently fluctuating perception of whether or not they are good or bad.
Oh, okay.
Is a great representation of the way that throughout history, the perspective on certain cultures, events, people, places, things have shifted and spun and become different over time to a point that looking back through history, you might not really even be able to get an accurate gauge on the perception of things.
That's the wacky thing about history. By the way, Riley, today is 365 days since we released our first episodes.
What?
365 days. We are
real fucking tired, man. That's 365 days without missing a week. We just missed the one for Christmas.
For Christmas, we phoned one in, we took a Patreon, and we put it up. That we've only missed the one ever. I think we are going to have to postpone our live show, which was set to air tomorrow. I am so sorry if you don't listen to this episode on the day that it drops. I'm going to try and punch in on our episode, our child labor episode that aired last Monday, and change it up so that it reflects that we're not going to do our 1 year anniversary live show.
Sorry guys, my fault.
Riley pulled a real boner.
Yeah,
on us, so.
I have to travel for work. It got kind of dropped on me. I didn't expect it, but I said, "Hey, do it yourselves without me," and they said, "What?"
There's a lot to do, and also having Riley not be, it's too much. I think we're gonna have to postpone it. Not to say we won't do one at some point.
We're gonna have to postpone it.
Not to say we won't do one at some point. It just won't be tomorrow on September 9th as we had planned. So this thing has gone up and down.
I feel like a real dick. We've really been
it's
pumping it the last 4 episodes. I feel like such an asshole.
I know, but listen, we are. If you guys pay attention to what we do in any way, shape, or form, you'll see that we're doing more stuff on Instagram. We're doing more stuff on YouTube. We're constantly trying to really ratchet this thing down and be better. So huge appreciation to anybody who has been a longtime listener, anybody who's told any of their friends, anybody who's left us ratings, reviews, any of that stuff. You guys here at the 1 year mark, you guys have been so fucking crucial to us coming in weekly, not taking breaks, doing 2-hour episodes every single week, doing 45 minutes on Patreon every single week. Obviously, you'll notice that as of the last 3 months, we do an extra hour-long episode every single month. The reason we create all this content, the reason we take time from our jobs, from our families, from our children, from all these things, you guys live lives. We live the same fucking lives. Shit gets busy, and it's a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice that we like doing. It's a thing that we enjoy doing. But I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, who knows where we'd be? So
in the gutter.
We appreciate you guys. We appreciate everything you guys have done in terms of just fandom and in terms of, sort of just being there for us, being a community, sort of interacting with us. It's been awesome. So thank you guys so much. That being said, what a weird, convoluted topic you picked for today.
Yeah, this
Riley.
is okay.
It seemed appropriate for the 1 year anniversary.
It's very appropriate, and it's actually a topic that I am fascinated by because it should be something that's really fucking easy to pin down and is possibly the most complicated topic we have ever tackled.
Yeah, again, it's a very convoluted, there's a lot to it.
So today we're talking about the history of history,
which, like I said, is appropriate for a history podcast on its first year anniversary.
And it's a cool topic, but it's also so wildly expansive. So if you think like the history of history, okay, you might think that there's a linear path to this that's just what's happened, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is human beings investigating their own past, which is a whole different fucking thing. For instance, like you want to say, people have always thought about what happened yesterday or what, happened before them. Not fucking true at all. For the majority of human existence, people lived in a essentially static format. Right. That was, day to day, season to season, year to year, but every year was a cycle that continued endlessly. It was a never-ending chain into the past, never-ending chain into the future, ancestors and descendants. That was life. Right. You are all one with everything. You were a part of nature. It's the same way that animals would.
All one.
All one. All one. All one. It's the same way that like animals would view their lineage, essentially.
Okay.
because we are animals, which is slightly elevated. But okay, it gets pretty mystical in a few different aspects. You don't really have a choice but to feel a little mystical talking about some of this. But I want to start talking about the earliest recordings of history.
Okay.
Okay? So early recorded history begins around the 4th millennium BCE, right? That's with the invention of writing in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Now, this transition from prehistory, which is the period before writing, to recorded history enabled civilizations to document events, communicate complex ideas, and establish formal laws and administrations. So when we say began, that's not a wholly true statement.
Okay.
Because early forms of writing could include small symbols,
Sure.
Little markers, dicks drawn in the mud by a half-monkey fish frog. Like, the official kickoff to a form of informational logotype that can include, like, abstract ideologies started being used in a way that archaeologists could find hundreds of thousands of years later. That was in Mesopotamia and Egypt around the 4th millennium.
Okay.
There's probably no start date to something like writing, because writing to convey ideas is just a different form of speaking. Sure. You know, it's not like you'd be like, and this is the day that people talked. Right, that's not how it works. Like, it evolved over time from someone, you know, like, as far back as somebody, like, breaking a branch to show that they'd been down a trail to tell other people to follow them.
Sure.
Or, you know, the first written records historically emerged from early accounting systems used to track goods in like, complex urban centers around Mesopotamia. Okay. So this was cuneiform. You know what cuneiform is? Yeah. Yeah, so developed by the ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia, cuneiform began as pictographs pressed into clay tablets to record business transactions. Sure. It would be something as simple as like hand out and then thing in hand. It's like using emojis. It's like a base form of emoji, right?
It's like a sack of grain in a hand and like a couple of tick marks to say how many somethings they gave me.
Yeah, or literally just an empty hand to be like, hey, I need some stuff. You know, that's as easy as that began. Over time, the symbols became more abstract and phonetic, and cuneiform was used by subsequent empires like the Akkadians to write literature and laws. Right? So this sort of like spin-off happened where for Mesopotamia that leads into ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Well, what's interesting is like, you know, the Sumerians, you know, with those business transaction cuneiforms, it like doesn't necessarily mean they were I mean, I would say probably not deliberately leaving a historical record for hundreds of thousands of years down the road.
It was just a functional.
It was like for doing invoice
item,
next week,
right? Which is interesting because it could be, as far as we understand, like it could have just used bark to say some shit on a lot of them, right? But those aren't the ones that passed. Those are the ones that like degraded over time. The ones that we still have standing, like remember we talked about the tablet of Anus Seer. The copper salesman.
I remember laughing and saying,
Anus Seer.
Anus Seer?
Yeah, because I believe on the tablet it says, the only anus I see is this copper merchant right here. The cuneiform tablet of Anus Seer from Mesopotamia was A-Nasir is a complaint tablet from someone saying that the copper ingots they got from a merchant named Nasir is bullshit.
What episode was that? I don't even remember.
That was Bretton Woods.
Was it?
Okay, we were talking about monetary exchange.
Yeah.
So like the very earliest form of communication we have is a customer complaint.
That was the very first negative Yelp review.
It's a customer complaint. It's funny.
It's the very first fucking Karen getting on Yelp.
It's 3100 BCE. So we had to develop an entire form of communication to say that Anus Seer is a fuck.
Yeah. Was the end of whatever they wrote.
Yeah.
I'd give 0 stars if I could.
So like on the opposite side of that, so you've got your cuneiform, which becomes like cuneiform is interesting because it's essentially letters, but they have like some context behind them.
Sure.
And then, you know, obviously the next step to that would be like hieroglyphics, right? So hieroglyphs developed around 3200 BCE, so a couple hundred years later. That's the formal writing system of ancient Egypt. Hieroglyphs combine pictorial and phonetic elements. Like cuneiform, it was used to document religion, government, and history, but its intricate nature made it very difficult for ordinary people to learn.
Yes.
So if you look back to ancient Egypt, I'm going to go down a whole list of shit.
I think there's still a lot of hieroglyphics that are still sort of mysterious.
We don't know what the fuck that is. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of mystery still.
That's what leads to a lot of like that ancient aliens sort of superstition stuff. It's like you see these, you look at that and it's like, oh, it's a big light bulb or some shit. Like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It's a falcon head in a robe,
Yeah.
guy eating a sandwich. And it's actually telling some like really vague, bizarre legend from
thing that just somebody saw this afternoon.
It's like, dude, I saw a falcon eating a sandwich.
Yeah. It's like, imagine something crazy that happened to you like last week. You just fucking saw somebody run off the road, or you saw, somebody knock off a fucking barber shop and running away from the cops, and having to like document that in cryptic pictures that you had to hand draw. and then 10,000 years in the future, somebody's looking at it going, aliens, probably. It's aliens. I don't know what else it could be.
You think about it in terms of like emojis, if you were trying to tell somebody that you just saw a car run off the road and crash into a tree and explode, the series of emojis you send could either be completely unintelligible, perceived perfectly, or really freak out your mom.
I think a lot of times translating these things, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, is sort of determined by what mindset the person who's translating them comes
very much so
with.
Very,
you know what I mean?
Very much so, yeah.
Your own experiences through life are going to determine how you translate something as arbitrary as cave paintings or hieroglyphics or whatever,
Look at the tumult just in like people talking about like today's political system. Now, I'm not getting political, I promise. But like just looking at the way that people disagree and argue and bicker about the perception of certain actions or events, that you have to figure if somebody's looking back, it gets so complicated talking back and forth to people in the now that somebody looking back 200, 300 years from now might have no fucking idea what's going on. Like they know the event happened, but trying to find the public perception is essentially impossible.
And it's very easy, and we talk about this a lot on our podcast. It's very easy to color the past with today's experiences and today's sort of societal hang-ups and whatnot, whereas you're looking at something that's so far removed from that. There's no, even if you go into it with the thought of, I'm not going to let this be painted by my experiences or by the society that I live in or by the rules that we have as a society now, it's still impossible to put yourself in that place at that time with that society, etc.
Right, this is actually the fascinating thing about this topic for me, is that in one aspect, like you come across something in it, like say like structures or religious phenomenon or even like something like trees that have been cut and shaped to grow a certain way. You don't know what the fuck that is. You have no idea what the fuck that is. But with the advent of technology and different societies in the future, somebody might be able to look at that and go, "Oh, that's what that is." There can be something that we don't understand now that happened 1,000 years ago. In another 200 years, somebody might look at it and go like, "Oh shit."
Possibly, yeah.
Right. So like the ebb and flow and the changes in society can open our eyes to different things. And we go over a few of those. So
okay.
All right, so in 1200 BCE, another 1,000 years after hieroglyphics like first started kicking, those Chinese characters.
Okay.
The earliest Chinese writing appeared during the Shang Dynasty, inscribed on oracle bones for divination. So like the first thing, we don't talk much in America about like primitive China.
No, because that was like north of the wall for
Dude, that's like fucking
ever.
That is such a land of magic and myth and legend that like there's fucking nothing we don't even know what the fuck's going on.
Those things didn't become even known to Western culture until we were almost in like a colonial period.
Which is I think that's fascinating because China specifically, huge parts of China, it's hard to lump China into one thing when you're talking historically because it's such a vast like.
But that far east part of the world lived almost as a separate world for so long.
Absolutely.
More so than like Near East. I feel like India to a certain degree for a long time, but everything sort of went further and further west over time. And so that was like the last area that really got touched.
Yeah, what I think is interesting from a Western perspective about like talking about like ancient China, which maybe we should do a thing on
probably
eventually, probably pretty cool. But there's so much of the ancient cultures that came out of China, like from prehistory into after like 1200 written like logged history, are so built on a form of magic. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Like most Western cultures are based on a form of religion, and Eastern stuff, a lot of it is just based around like fucking magic or alchemy or the manipulation of elements. there might be gods and demons and stuff, but they're
Sure.
less like an object of worship as they are like, oh, look out for that god. That guy,
Right, yeah.
that'll turn you into a fish man.
Yeah.
So, the earliest writing appeared on these oracle bones.
Mm-hmm.
And that system of writing evolved over millennia into logographic script used today, which is like word association, essentially. Like do you think about like kanji in Japan,
Mhm.
right? It's you have a word that could have a character attached to it.
Okay.
Right? And if you want to change that word, all you got to do is change the symbol a little bit.
Like,
And-
like add something.
right.
to
So
it,
if you have a name that's a lot like a word, then you just change the article that you're writing just a little bit to reflect that
Right.
change, which is a really interesting but possibly most complicated possible way to do that. It's like
I've tried learning it and it's difficult.
that kind of shit to me is like, I mean, maybe in a historical context, there are people who could look at that and be like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. That's what we, like coders
I'm
for
sure.
shit in the future could be like, well, it's just like code.
Yeah, I'm sure that there are people who
But
could.
to me, it's like you had to learn the symbol for every word.
Yeah.
And like maybe somebody who speaks the language would be like, yeah, you know the fucking word, don't you?
Right.
Like you know the word, so you know it looks like that. It's that easy. To me, I'm like, holy shit.
Well, if you grew up learning that, then yeah, it'd be
Right.
it seemed much more ridiculous that someone like you or I would look at it and be like, wait, what?
Well, there's also something interesting about the fact that this is 1200 BCE as opposed to the 3400 of Mesopotamia,
Right.
which means there's 1,000 years of Chinese history we just don't fucking know anything about, essentially.
Over 1,000.
Yeah, over 1,000. Well, I mean, there's
2,000.
hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
millions, in fact.
Right.
But like that whole time in Mesopotamia where they're complaining about copper and shit, we don't know what the fuck was happening in China.
No, that's crazy.
So, and then moving into it from those like ancient forms of writing, that's when we get early alphabets, right? We'll get past this part in just a second. This is just to show you where our understanding of history begins.
Yeah,
right?
it's fascinating. I'm not complaining at all.
So in 1500 BC, to bounce back just a little bit, the first alphabetic system was the Proto-Sinaitic. Proto-Sinaitic? S-I-N.
Sure.
It's easier to read than it is to say. A lot of this stuff is. The Proto-Sinaitic script, which was developed in the Sinai Peninsula. Proto-Sinaitic?
Maybe.
This was like a hugely revolutionary shift, and it went towards a writing system where each sign represented a single sound as opposed to a concept.
Okay.
Right? So as opposed to the Chinese script where it would be like chair, but your name is Bear.
Charrington.
Cherry. Your name's Cherry. The word is chair. You add a little.
Yeah.
Now you would have the sound for ch, sound for and the sound for re. Right? So that's how like modern alphabets work. Sound association. That made widespread literacy very possible because it reflected even made up words.
Right.
Think in English when we
It also created uniformity. So
yeah.
So this can go here. Like
Exactly. And it also gave you the ability to say like if you lived in an area that had multiple languages, you could meld those languages now.
Absolutely,
because if somebody said something in that language, you could break it down phonetically and spell it out, and you could show them that's what that word meant.
Sure.
Then they'll fucking look at it, point to the thing they're talking about, and you can boom, there you go,
Right.
translation like that.
Yeah, I mean it's the next logical step up from hieroglyphics.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of this is all just logical evolution.
Right.
When you think about stuff like that, you got to think people are separated by thousands of miles and natural borders, and all these cultures like would never interact unless it was to like fucking essentially to rape each other. Like it was a hard time coming up in history before written language. Like shit was not exactly fucking paradise. Maybe some places.
No, I don't think.
Till more
I don't
people
think any
found
places. I'm a solid student of history, and I don't think any places, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But
There's
like
nowhere's been a paradise.
So, but
sorry.
Then things like the early alphabet and phonetic language that helped bridge that gap.
Okay.
Because you could say, okay, so you attack another tribe or something, you get some slaves off of there, right?
Sure.
You teach the slaves how to use your phonetic alphabet, then you have a translator.
Yeah.
Boom. It's that easy.
Now you can get more slaves.
Now you have more, then you make more slaves, you get allies, you can trade. So this phonetic alphabet, it evolved into something called the Phoenician alphabet.
Right.
Which the Phoenician alphabet descended from the phonetic system, and that became the basis for our modern alphabetic languages.
Right.
Which is, essentially the same most places in the like Western world at least, or even Spanish, Portuguese. You might have little caveats here or there and
Right.
changes in the usage, But it all comes from your basic like 32 letters. How many letters in the alphabet? Fuck.
28.
28. Yeah, 28 letters and 26. A handful of symbols. Yeah.
26, 28. So 26.
I should have looked that up.
I think 26.
But yeah, so like
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've thought about it.
Those letters all get bent and add little lots and shit. But
it's funny because this is one of the things I get a little bent out of shape about is that Arabic. It's all Arabic initially. Same with numbers.
Yeah.
Or the forms, that's North African.
The forms of our letters and the and numbers all come from Arabic.
But then we call it alphabet, which is Greek.
Yeah.
because the Greeks adopted it from Northern Africa. Because it's right there. Fucking Mediterranean's not that big.
Right.
And then again, because we're talking about the history of history largely forgets that this shit originally started with people in Northern Africa.
Yeah.
Same with numbers and, sort of the Arabian, peninsula there.
Yeah.
So
cradle of motherfucking civilization.
It's wild because we have now gotten to a point in history where we've largely forgotten where these things come from. And we attribute so much of it to Europe when it predates Europe doing a goddamn thing by a lot.
And then the societal mind rebels at that assumption. And they say, no, it must be something deeper. And then there's a causality creating a symptom that comes with a cure known as Delete Everything Podcast. It's organic.
It's perfect.
Okay, so all of these things, I'm saying this because this is how we recorded history, right? And they weren't intentionally recording history, but we get to read. So like some of the records...
the beauty is that some shit got left behind, and then it got just it didn't get too destroyed by time, and
going back to
some asshole found it and said,
"Oh, what's this?
I'm taking it back to England.
Put this in my bathroom.
I'm gonna put this in my bag and take it away from this place."
So going back to ancient Mesopotamia, some of the oldest records that we find, a personal favorite, the Kish tablet. You heard of this?
I don't know.
Circa 3500 BCE, we have the Kish, Kish tablet.
Okay.
It's one of the oldest known written documents. It's a Sumerian tablet that contains pictographic writing.
Mm-hmm.
It shows 4 frames of essentially doodles carved into limestone, possibly depicting a legend of the time, but it's got a hand, it's got some grain, is assumedly beer, it's like a bird in one panel, right?
I don't think I knew about that.
It is shockingly close in presentation to lost.jpg. Are you familiar with lost.jpg?
I don't think so.
So lost.jpg is a 4-frame internet cartoon. The first frame is a man rushing into a hospital. The second, rushing into a hospital and talking to a receptionist.
Okay.
The second frame this is like a very popular like Reddit form, right? The second frame is a man talking to a doctor. Then the third frame is
him opening a cooler with his penis inside of it.
I think it's okay. So first it's just him rushing in.
Second is receptionist. Which is like him standing and her sitting. Right.
The third is him talking to a doctor. And then the fourth is him standing by the bed of a woman, presumably a wife or girlfriend, who's very sad.
Okay.
And the assumption coming off of that there's been a miscarriage or something along those lines.
Interesting.
Right?
All right.
Because she seems very distraught.
Okay.
And he's obviously in a hurry.
Sure.
So it comes into this, like, you can read it and it pretty easy to process, like, oh, she probably had like a miscarriage. Right? So this 4-frame cartoon has been turned into like a very popular internet sensation in which you can mold the depiction into different shapes or artifices.
Sure.
And you'll still know that that's what it is.
Right.
So like there's a lot, if it's the 4-frame tablet, right? The first could just be a black mark, like a stick. Then you have a black stick next to a shorter black stick, and then 2 black sticks, and then 1 black stick standing up and 1 black stick laying down. And people savvy to it will immediately know that that's lost.jpg.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So the Kish tablet is in that exact same format. So it's really easy to assume that any Mesopotamian who saw that would be like, oh yeah, that's fucking, it's the legend of Badingus or whatever.
Old Badingus.
So you don't know Badingus? It's the bird, beer, grain hand.
We knew him well.
So it's probably like something very much like that. Like maybe an advertisement or something like that. But it's fun to think
That's weird to think about.
It's the exact, like, we're in just the same historical cycle.
It's weird to think about like a Sumerian tablet that was just like a eat at Joe's.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like just,
you know, and it could be like, think about that. It could be like, oh, the bird with the fucking grain.
It's so possible.
That's Bedingus, right? And then the hand here, that was obviously the legend of Bedingus continued. And then, down here, a Bedingus is going into Joe's restaurant. It's an advertisement for Joe's restaurant.
It's so possible that there are so many, like, especially Sumerian and ancient Egyptian, like, things that we have not been able to translate, that were just some, like, street vendor who was like, oh, how are we going to drum up business? You know, right? And like just did a thing.
Yeah, maybe something kind of an interesting draw, or a little like, hey.
Something that was abstract enough, but people of the time would know, oh, this is the kebab place down the road, you know?
Yeah.
And like and to think like of archaeologists and anthropologists thousands of years later looking at it going, what the fuck does this mean? And it's just like some kebab guy who was like, oh, this would be funny. And then like people, I just imagine ancient Egyptians like looking at it and be like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Where is this place? Where is it?
Exactly.
Down there? Okay, I'll meet you there. Go ahead.
That's one of the oldest written documents of all time. You know, it's the same way that if you look at like graffiti from Pompeii, right? It's usually like a guy with a big dick, right? And it says something like, Bedingus was here,
which is funny because all the guys with big dicks in Pompeii still there.
We'll actually talk about that a little bit. Not their dicks necessarily, but we will.
All right, fine.
But all right, so in Mesopotamia as well, you had the Epic of Gilgamesh. You've heard of Gilgamesh, right?
Yeah, that one I know.
That's somewhere around 2100 to 1200 BC.
Okay.
So that's a monumental work of Akkadian poetry that recounts the semi-legendary deeds of historical Sumerian king.
Okay.
Semi-legendary carries a lot of weight in there.
Yeah.
Because a Sumerian king who lived fuck knows how long ago, but it's somebody being like, Gilgamesh, he's this great warrior. He sailed the seas.
Yeah.
He, toppled the walls, blah, blah, blah. It's just this, you don't have to fucking have any real knowledge of Gilgamesh.
Right.
So it's like an oral legend, but it's just written down in a cuneiform.
That's why, and I think I definitely learned this from Dan Carlin, like in the King of Kings series, there was a part where he talks about people in ancient Persia, coming across ruins from the Assyrian Empire.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And having no fucking idea what those ruins were. And the time
between the Persian Empire to the Assyrian Empire was longer than the time from now to the Persian Empire.
I remember
them looking at that and being like, this is...
I know him talking...
These were gods,
I remember him talking about that and just the way he paints the picture of like, imagine finding an entire massive... monumental city with not a soul in it. Just sand covering the houses, just the streets just drifting with sand, and like a fucking ghost town, and you just walk into it like, fucking what?
And it's older now than what we look back at, the 3,000 plus years since the Persians.
Crazy.
And this Assyrian Empire is longer than that back in their history.
Yeah, insane.
So like looking, sort of timelining these things is interesting because you tend to just sort of mash it all up as a long time ago, and then you go,
historically, that is the way that people always looked at stuff like that. You've got your storytelling. It could have been as recent as, the 2 lives ago or 1,000 lives ago.
Right, exactly. And so we have a tendency, I think, because of the way our brains work, of just looking at each of these empires like one after the other, after the other, after the other, and not realizing that some of these things span for thousands of years. And like some of these old civilizations were ancient to civilizations that we look at now and go, holy shit, that was a long time ago.
It is so easy to process the past as being the same time.
Right.
It's like all of this shit happened right away.
Way back then, all at the same time, no big deal.
And now nothing could be further from the truth, actually.
No.
Which is why I am a big fan of like the historical concept of like oral tradition. The way that most people told historical stories for forever is in legends. Like,
sure.
So the Epic of Gilgamesh is definitely like passed down word to word and eventually transcribed, which is what's great about the Star Trek Next Generation episode Darmok. Are you familiar with this?
Darmok? No.
Darmok is from the first season of Star Trek Next Generation. It is legendarily cool because it doesn't have a whole lot of science behind it, but there is a society in space, like there's a fucking, that they run across on the Starship Enterprise. I'm a big fan of Star Trek Next Generation, if you guys don't know about that. They run across this society that communicates in legends, essentially. Like when they talk to you, they're conveying an emotion, but the only way they know how to do that is to relate an event from their legends.
Okay.
Right? So, if they were very sad about something, they might say Shaka when the walls fell.
Okay.
Which is an association with sadness, but you wouldn't know what the fuck that meant,
no,
right?
I have no idea about Shaka or their walls.
Obviously, it doesn't make any real sense in terms of how language would evolve, but it is a really interesting kind of like historical take, right? So, say Darmok and Jalad on the ocean, Darmok and Jalad at sea, Darmok fighting the beast of Tanagra, right? You say these things, it doesn't matter. Doesn't know what the fuck that is. Darmok and Jalad would be like buddies. They were on a raft together or something. So Captain Picard relates when he sort of figures out what's going on. He in turn relates the Epic of Gilgamesh to the society, and they kind of like they sort of bridge that gap, making referential stuff. And he translates the Epic of Gilgamesh into the Darmok relation language.
Interesting.
Fucking crazy good episode, and it's obviously reflective of how hard it is to communicate abstract ideology between cultures and languages.
The first thing that I think of is idioms.
It's very much that,
idioms from one culture to the next. Yeah. Because I can say something like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Exactly.
If I say that in a different language in a different culture, they'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, you just say horses are stubborn. Like, huh?
Huh? What are you talking about? Where's the horse? There's not horse or water. What are you talking about?
I guess kind of my favorite take from Darmok actually is they did the show Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks. Do you see that? Like a cartoon. It's like a cartoon that's very referential to Next Generation and all that stuff. And they have a member in that, because it's later in the future, yada yada. But we have a member of that society who has joined Starfleet. Okay. Right? And he's learned just regular universal English. Right? But he's at a bar at the end of the episode talking to some girl, and the girl rebuffs him and walks off, and he goes, Shaka when the walls fell. And I like some of you will get it. Anyway, so moving on. Also a message just to round out Mesopotamia. 1750 BCE, you have the Law Code of Hammurabi. That's a collection of Babylonian laws, notable for being a comprehensive legal text. That's our first laws literally set in stone. That's
Hammurabi's code. Yep.
The Code of Hammurabi is the reason we have the term set in stone. Yeah, because it is boom. These are immutable. They are these are our laws.
It's also why we have eye for an eye.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's very, very true. I didn't even think about that. Yep. So, okay, moving on from there, then we're going to ancient Egypt, because these two societies didn't grow up necessarily in tandem, but their ability to be historically recorded did pretty close within.
By the way, just to touch back on that, the whole eye for an eye thing vis-a-vis Hammurabi's code was the first example of basically let the punishment fit the crime. Yeah. Right? It wasn't necessarily, it was metaphor. The eyes were the metaphor. It wasn't necessarily saying, somebody plucks your eye out, you pluck their eye out. But it was basically saying, if someone does this, then the punishment should equal the crime. So
slightly different. On a different tablet, you've got a law that says if a child falls into a gorilla enclosure, then you have to kill the gorilla. But that's
Harambe's code.
That's the code of Harambe, yeah. So, all right, moving into ancient Egypt, because again, their written languages developed around the same time. I believe it is a little more well noted that the Egyptian Empire is a little more long-ranging than Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia had great success in their respective times, but the Egyptian Empire just was in a more fertile area and had a lot more resources. It was a little bit earlier, lasted a bit longer. Right. A long fucking time. Like the Egyptian Empire lasted like 4,000 years. Fucking psychotic. It's like so much longer than we can even comprehend. It's insane. So the Egyptian Empire existed so long that by the end of the Egyptian Empire, they had no fucking idea how the Egyptian Empire started.
It's been longer from now to when the Egyptian Empire ended. Yeah. The Egyptian Empire lasted for longer than that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Fucking crazy.
It's crazy. And that's why it's funny when people are like, well, how do they make those fucking pyramids? It's like slaves and time.
Yep. Lots of time, all the time. So much time.
And so many slaves.
Like it's essentially impossible to understand that a culture even existed that long.
Yeah.
The concept of being like a ruler of a land that has been essentially dominant in their area for 3,000 years. That's some
crazy.
Sci-fi outer space shit.
The
that's
United
That's
States,
some fucking Dune, Frank Herbert.
The U.S.
shit.
seems like it's been like
Some
like we have
Isaac
this
Asimov Foundation shit right there.
People in this country, talk about the beginning of this country in these like, oh, it was so long ago. It was 250 years ago.
I've been in New England all the time. That shit's right there.
Yeah. It was a quarter of 1 millennium ago.
It fucking, honestly, having never grown up in New England, never really like visited like the Massachusetts colony areas and shit. Now that I've been through there a lot, like looking at the fact that the houses from all of that shit are still there, is like, huh?
Wasn't that long ago?
This just happened.
In the grand scheme of things, when you look at it next to
looking back at my family history and realizing that it's only like 6 generations to the beginning of the country, that's
crazy,
fucking psychotic.
Crazy. Well, and that's what I'm saying is like when you look at that it feels like a long time ago, but when you look at it in context with something like ancient Egypt, not that fucking impressive, man.
So as concerning ancient Egypt and their language developing, in 3100 BCE, or coming from 3100 BCE, we have an artifact known as the Narmer palette, Narmer.
Okay.
It's an artifact that depicts the
Nermer?
N.
Yeah. N. Yeah.
A.
Narmer.
Yeah, that's
Narmer.
Narmer. Like
Nermal from Garfield, but switch it around a little bit.
Like Nermi? Like Mela Nermi?
No.
Vampira? Okay, so 3100 BC, an artifact that depicts the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt under King Narmer as he smites his enemies, making it an early example of a historical document. So the Narmer palette is like a really cool, designy, polished, fucking sculpted, like stone tablet.
Okay.
It's mad Egyptian design. Like it looks like a set piece from The Mummy. It's really fucking cool. And it's like, I don't know, I think it's something you could hold in your hand. It would be like a shield size, like a Captain America shield sized. And it's fucking cool and polished and really like, it shows like this is a society. This is a culture. Yeah, it's really cool. Which would mean that like, one, that they have a lot of time and resources for arts and culture and cared about history and legends and stuff.
Sure.
Which is rad. But also just that like this was a relevant story that they cared about.
Okay.
The Palermo stone, it's an analytic tablet that lists the names of Egyptian kings going far back into prehistory.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So that's the one that's the sections of the Egyptian stele that have been like it's been smashed for some reason. Prehistoric dickheads.
Yeah, I was gonna say people fighting probably.
Yeah, I guess, fucking vandals. Grave robbers. It's real hard to carry a fucking 11,000 pound carved stone. But if you break it into pieces, it could have been. I don't know. We just got some fragments. So, if you break it into pieces, you could take one off and be like, yeah, buy this for bread or something.
I guess, but I mean, also you got slaves and time.
Yeah. Well, no, not at this. So I'm saying, like in the future, after all of this, like Egypt was looted so fucking hard for so long.
Oh, you're saying
grave robbers would come from all over.
Yes.
For thousands of years, like we have no concept of what could have been in the pyramids and structures around Egypt.
In our lifetime, there have been Egyptian.
Our lifetime has essentially been the death of that culture. But
in our lifetime, there have been Egyptian ruins completely pilfered by
absolutely,
archaeologists of the time.
So this tablet, it lists the name of Egyptian kings going way, way back into prehistory.
Okay.
So it's just like an endless list, dude, like hundreds of them going back so far. It's very fucking cool. And the carvings...
Especially when people died when they were like 30.
Right? And it's still in this hieroglyphic format. So it's like real tiny, finely done, like artisanal...
Oh, that's cool.
Like hieroglyphs. Yeah, it's real fine. And you can just imagine if there was a massive stone, like big polished obelisk.
Yeah. Like
just the fucking... How awe-inspiring it would have been to be like, this is how many kings we've had.
That's crazy.
Like just an endless amount of times. It's like it's crazy. Huh. Then of course we have the Rosetta Stone which is like not that old.
Yeah, that's how I learned Spanish.
Yeah, you get this 7 CD set. Yeah. The Rosetta Stone was from
I had
around.
To take out my AOL disc and put my number.
You remember
one
like the late night Rosetta Stone ads?
I do.
Be up all high watching Octane Hunger Force, and then fucking those Rosetta Stone ads would come on.
It is like
through 2:30 in the morning.
Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, fucking German.
Well, the Rosetta Stone's fascinating because it's only from like 196 BCE.
Okay.
Which
Only.
is, well, I mean, yeah, to us now that feels like a long time ago, but again,
Right.
like it's
In the
nothing.
grand scheme
It's
of what we've talked about so
nothing.
far, it's
yeah.
not.
Like the thing I just talked about, 3,000 years older than that.
Yeah.
The Rosetta Stone is a trilingual stele, but like a smaller one, and also just a fragment of that allowed modern scholars to decipher hieroglyphs. It's a fragment that was discovered in 1799.
Yeah, it was like a cheat sheet.
Yeah, it's inscribed with the same decree in 3 different scripts. So you had hieroglyphic, demotic, and ancient Greek. And since scholars could read Greek, the stone served as a key to deciphering the previously unintelligible
Right.
Egyptian hieroglyphs. And it unlocked like a wealth of information about
Right.
ancient Egypt. The artifact is currently on display at the British Museum, along with everyone else's culture.
Was it like the equivalent of like the what was it? The small brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Kinda, yeah.
Is that the phrase?
Actually, I'm not sure what the decree. Yeah, but that's every letter.
Right. It's
In
every
one
letter
word,
in the
yeah.
alphabet. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what the decree was on the Rosetta Stone. It's something annoying and long-winded. Yeah. It's also interesting to think that as recently as 196 BCE, they were using hieroglyphics as an active language, and it's like lost to us.
Do you think that they were? See, the way I think about it is that it wasn't being used. The way I think about it is there were like a handful of people who had this as. It's like there are people now who know Latin,
right?
Which is largely dead.
I know. I have
You know what
Latin
I mean?
written. I have Latin written on my chest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I feel more like maybe it was a holdover, somebody who still knew this mostly dead language that hasn't been used in, a couple hundred years.
I would say that it was more like the Greeks were becoming more friendly with Egypt at the time.
Yeah.
This was like something that led to trade and Lighthouse of Alexandria, shit like that.
Greeks
So,
were
like,
also really good at keeping records of things.
yeah, exactly. So I would say it was much like they had something to say and they needed a lot of people to read it.
Yeah.
So somebody like a trader would walk around with the same thing and,
Right,
and
right,
show it to all
right,
these people. Actually, referring to we're going to get into ancient Greece in just a second, but real quick, in ancient China, one of the ancient documents, this one's from around 5th century BCE,
Okay.
which is fucking
Long time ago.
The Book of Documents. It's one of China's 5 classics. You know
Okay.
about that about like China's ruling party has like a list of documents that all Chinese people must know.
No, I didn't know that.
It's not as strict as all that. I mean, like the world isn't all fucking cut and dried like that. But
Right.
but it's like I guess the Oprah Winfrey book club list that or like 5 books to read before you die, some shit like that.
Okay.
But China's 5 classics, it contains early narratives. The Book of Documents contains early narratives of Chinese history.
Okay.
All right, so that one's 5th century BCE. And then you have Records of the Grand Historian from 100 BCE, written by Sima Khan. This is one of China's earliest examples of professional historiography.
Okay.
So, like, you can see in China, they've got, 100 BCE, they've got, this is our history.
Right.
Fucking
Like
lock
somebody
it
got
down.
paid to write this.
Exactly. And this is that unification of the 5 kingdoms and shit. And, here we are. Boom.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they were taking the history of China very seriously and still do. China's very.
I was going to say, yeah.
Well, the entire fucking nation of China is very closed off to Westerners in terms of their histories. Like there are historical books.
Unless you got a fucking Fortune 500 company,
Yeah,
baby.
right. There are Chinese, even then actually, there are Chinese books about the history of China that are state owned, and you've got to be Chinese to read them.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is, it is interesting. That's a whole other topic, but that comes. I know that they've had a lot of weird political tumult that's changed, and their government's changed a lot over the past 50 years. But
Yeah.
but it's still, I believe it's still true that they've got this is for Chinese eyes only,
Okay.
which is interesting.
For Chinese eyes only.
For Chinese eyes only. So moving into ancient Greece, ancient Greece is possibly the most relevant culture to what we're talking about today in creating a form of historiography.
Okay.
Historiography, obviously, the study of history.
Mm-hmm.
So in 450 BCE, you've got Herodotus. You familiar with Herodotus?
I do.
Herodotus writes the histories in 450
Mhm.
BCE. He's often called the father of history.
Yep.
Herodotus' work was one of the first to approach historical accounts systematically and as a true retrospect.
I feel like we've talked about Herodotus on the podcast.
I mean, it's kind of, if we're talking about history, it's hard to avoid him because
Yeah.
this is the guy
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, he has encountered some like bad press lately. I will say that. But I'll get into that a little bit. But Herodotus was like methodical, like known to be a singular person, unlike Homer. Like
2,000 years after he died, he's canceled.
This bullshit.
Goddamn cancel culture.
Like Homer, right?
Right.
Homer was a bard that wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey and a number of other works. He was there at the fucking Pompeii and shit like that. But Homer is now thought to be multiple people over time that just had the title of Homer, or even just had the name Homer.
Right.
You know, like Bob at Pompeii, Bob at at Troy, whatever. Fucking Darmok and Gelada Tanagra, whatever. So Herodotus though is known to be this one man who was dedicated to figuring out the history of not just his culture but any culture he could come across. It would seem that the majority of the records found would either be contemporary records of like things happened around ancient Greece,
right,
or retellings of legends.
Okay.
Herodotus is the guy that tried to log true events from evidence rather than just reprinting legends. Funnily enough, a lot of historians kind of fucking hate Herodotus because he was the standard of historical analysis for like 1,000 years. But it turns out that since he was kind of working alone and inventing the entire process of historiography, his methods were imperfect.
Sure.
He would often quote legends as facts or use eyewitness accounts that had been embellished or even purposely wrap a narrative to fit his personal views of the event. For instance,
this is exactly what I was talking about how the way that you record it is going to be colored by your experiences.
Yeah, that's the thing with history. It doesn't matter
biases.
If you write something about something, if you write a historical event that happened, say I'm writing the story of 9/11, I get every detail right, except that I write that I have a great big fat cock in there as well. And then 8 million people read that, just because 8 million people think I have a great big fat cock doesn't make it true.
Right. Or
it is true.
Better yet, that your great big fat cock is what caused the second tower to fall.
It was the second tower. My plane has crashed and my towers are tumbling. God, it feels inappropriate. I feel like this would probably be released around 9/11. I feel bad.
No, this will be released around 9/8.
I was actually, so a little digression there. Sorry to talk about 9/11. I was talking to my daughter, and I said,
about 9/11.
About 9/11.
Okay,
it's her birthday.
Her birthday's 9/11.
Her birthday is
really
September 11th, 2010.
Oh, okay. My son is September 1st.
2011. Sorry, fuck. September 11th, 2011 was my daughter's birthday.
9/11/11.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary.
Okay.
So I looked her right in the eyes and I was like, September 11th is my favorite day. And she went, Dad, no. She's like, I get it, but don't say that to people. All right, anyway, so Herodotus, he'd often quote legends as facts or wrap things to fit his own narrative.
Sure.
For instance, he tells a story of the Egyptian pharaoh. What? 9/11 is my favorite day?
No, I just wanted to go. He tells a story about how the second tower was his cock. Go on. I'm sorry.
He tells a story of the Egyptian pharaoh Khufu. He tells the story of Khufu prostituting his daughters to pay for the pyramids. Okay. So where did he hear that, for one? The pyramids were already 2,000 years old, right?
I was going to say.
Was Herodotus working off of a written source, or was he working with hearsay? Was a translator helping him, or did he learn Egyptian? Where's he getting this? This is the problem with Herodotus, because for at least 1,000 years, people were like, yeah, Herodotus, he wrote all the history of everything. Yeah. And now contemporary archaeologists and historians are like, well, this is horseshit. And we've already got our entire historical narrative, essentially, in the Western world at least, is based off of this guy's writing.
At least reference.
So people going all the way back to find the source material of the histories that we have now, being like, oh, this fucking guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Interesting.
Like there's a theory actually with that history that there was a translator helping him like learn things from Egypt and just fucking with him and making stuff up. So like he'd have a translator with him. He'd walk around and be like, yeah, let's ask this librarian about something, and the guy would talk to the librarian and be like, hey, what are you doing today? I was like, I don't know, just hanging out. So then he'd turn back to Herodotus and be like, oh yeah, this guy says he's descended from a whole line of kings. He knows all this shit.
Yeah, right. And it was just some guy just being like, You want a kebab or something? What
So-
you hungry?
As you can see, the problem with basing future histories off of Herodotus's work has an inherent vice attached to it.
Yeah, kind of.
We can do a little bit more on him later, but there's another guy from 400 BCE, so we're moving up a little bit. Thucydides?
Okay.
Thucydides? I'll say Thucydides. His history of the Peloponnesian War. It was credited with introducing a more developed historical method by examining human actions and causation. So rather than just being like, yeah, the fucking Peloponnesians went to war, he was like, all right, here are the economic factors. This is where it started. This is how the tension built. So it's a little more akin to the way that we view historical narratives now. If you're going to tell the story of the Vietnam War, you kind of start in China. You don't just be like, I don't know, one day all these fucking helicopters showed up.
It's how we do, certainly any episode that I research, I kind of try and find the problem is you can go back forever on most things. You can, everything is sort of interconnected. Yeah. So,
which is that's history.
Yeah.
Everything is Venn diagrams.
Yeah,
everything is cyclical. Yeah. It's a never-ending stream.
And there are times where, and you've been here for them, where these strings connect between things that you never would even think, and just in episodes that we've done,
and we go,
exactly,
yeah.
and it makes you feel a little bit like tinfoil cap.
Right, yeah.
It's all connected, man. It's all connected. But
I mean, it's the butterfly effect, right? It's like, a butterfly fucking flaps its wings over here, you get a tsunami over here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Every little historic, remember we were talking about the Mongols actually having a battle with medieval knights around Denmark.
Yes.
Right? And the only reason they were called back was because Kublai Khan died.
Right.
Right? And without Kublai Khan dying, you have the Mongols sweeping into Western Europe.
It's certainly possible.
And possibly taking over the entire fucking world.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Right. So there's just that one event is the reason that we're sitting here right now. Literally just that man dying affected us being able to exist here in North America.
I mean, this is all sort of conjecture, but yeah.
But we could be riding horses on the Great Plains with falcons at our wrists,
Sounds cooler than what I'm doing now.
I'm in. You know what's best in life?
What?
Crush your enemies to see them driven before you and to hear the lamentations of their women.
I thought you were going to say Mentos.
No, Mentos, the fresh maker.
Full of life.
Fresh and full of life, yes. Okay, so now we got Thucydides doing this big examination, right?
Sure.
Now we've come to a timeline where we've got historians and analysts. So by about 400 BCE, with Thucydides and Herodotus having now published and disseminated their research, the idea of looking back into time using a scientific approach becomes really, really popular.
Okay.
Right? And you get an explosion of historical research all over the place because of that. So as weird as it is to attribute the birth of Christ in year 0 with something historical, by about 400 BCE is when histories start taking a more scientific approach. So you can almost literally divide history and prehistory that way. With the analysis, think of year 0 and be like, before that, I don't know, people were just kind of writing shit down. Then after that, we're really studying. So that's where historiography really can hit.
Okay.
Yeah. So strangely enough, the histories that followed after that period are pretty short-minded. They're small stuff. They might look into the history of a culture or a city or a nation, but they never really go all the way back to look at big beginnings. There wasn't a history of ancient Egypt ever, You might get some people would be like, yeah, the legends tell that the weird bird dragon statue.
Well, I mean, obviously you've got the Torah, which
you have stuff like
tells the Jewish perspective of the Israelites fleeing.
But again, those less
Egypt, but those are painted
instead of being analytical historical documents. They're closer to the oral tradition of legends.
Right? Exactly. They are painted as these sort of theological
and kind of literally
histories that are
the reason that Mark.
Not Luke, to say I don't believe that the Israelites were enslaved by the Egyptians. I think that's
right. Well, biblical storytelling. If you just look at literally the way that they're named, Revelations, John's letter to the
also, if you look
Assyrians,
at where Israel is located in reference to Egypt, it makes perfect sense that they would be.
Well, a lot of the biblical versions are storytelling or oral representations that have been recorded.
Yeah,
so it's just that legendary sort of storytelling.
Sure,
I keep moving away from my mic. Fuck.
You're fine.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah, you're looking good, dude.
So I don't. I look like shit. Actually, I came straight from work. I smell bad.
Yeah, he's a little stinky
I'm a
today.
stinky boy.
I told him earlier I was bending over getting his headphones sorted out. I was like,
Oh boy,
Riley, you were stinky today, buddy.
So all these histories that what we got there is kind of contemporary history of history already, but they never look back so far as to think about like the beginning of cultures and societies, which I find possibly the most fascinating part of all history.
Okay.
So I want to go back to the long ago, right? So what's going on prehistory?
This is some fucking Cloud Atlas ass speak.
The time before knowledge, the time before passion.
I tell you the true.
I tell you the true. So I was thinking, actually, because I love Cloud Atlas, the book. It's like one of my favorite books of all time. I was thinking more in terms of like the flowery language. And you're like, no, like the fucking Hawaiian caveman shit.
Yeah, like the fucking future, like
you speak to true.
You speak to true.
Yeah, Tom Hanks doing that's just fucking hilarious.
Tom Hanks and Halle Berry being like
and Hugh Grant.
eternal fucking soulmates.
Yeah, that's a great book though.
I never read the book and I almost bought it one time,
Dude,
but I had already
fucking buy that book and read it.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. I happened to be in a Barnes and Noble, like really shortly after I had watched that movie for the first time, and it like this is back in pre-streaming, or at least in my life, pre-streaming. I had like fucking I had cable and I had HBO and shit like that, and at the time it was just like back in the day when you get on like DirecTV and you had like 8 HBO channels. And so Cloud Atlas was just almost constantly playing. So I had watched this movie just because I happened to be like, oh, fuck it, I'm bored, and watch it. And shortly after that, I was in Barnes & Noble. I saw Cloud Atlas, and I was like, I'd really like to read that book, but I'd like to kind of forget the movie before I read it. Typically, I like to read a book before I watch a movie.
Do it now. Buy that book.
Now I would, because I don't remember the movie very well.
Little digression. It's just strangely fortuitous that you would mention the book or Cloud Atlas in general, because it's actually the point of that book is exactly what we're talking about. Is the blending of histories. Right.
Yeah.
One David Mitchell is one of the best fucking writers of all time. Possibly the top 5 best writers of all time.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
That he did that book I told you about, the Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet. That's about like the Dutch East India Company at Jakarta.
Okay.
It's crazy good shit. It's mostly historical writing, in a way, historical fiction.
Historical fiction, yeah.
But it gets so heavily researched. It's so good. Cloud Atlas itself.
See, that sounds like something I'd rather read first.
It's the Cloud Atlas is an incredible book for a couple reasons. Like all the stories are great, but it's like 7 stories, I want to say.
Yeah.
That are
a bunch.
that are bisected.
Yes.
And they're all in different time frames. They're all in different, like, not languages, but different modes of writing. They're narrated by different characters.
Different epochs of human history,
they're completely different in all these, but they all reference the previous stories in these bizarre ways.
Right.
And you start with the first story that's in, like, Polynesian island somewhere. Yeah. Somebody on a ship.
They're all, like, these very fantastical versions of, like... eras that... Yeah, they're certainly inspired by eras that have existed, but they're all kind of like
David Mitchell
eras that didn't really exist.
David Mitchell being such a great historical fiction writer, he sets it in real places and real times, but it becomes slightly more fantastical as it goes on. So you start in the Polynesian Islands with like a really cool diary entry story. You read half of it, and I mean half of it, like it stops mid-sentence, and with no punctuation, you turn the page and it's like chapter 2.
Okay.
You're like, the fuck is that? And you realize as you go on that each story is advanced, I don't know, 100 years or something.
Right.
And you only get to read the first half of all of them until you read like in fucking China in the future, there's like clones and robots. And then you end it at like this post-apocalyptic Hawaii where people are living in like a tribal style again.
Yeah.
And then, so you read that.
It is very apropos to this episode.
It is. It's the blending of everything, because the beauty of the book and the most fascinating part is, you read all the halves of these stories, and then you read that Hawaiian one, and it's the whole story. You read the whole thing all the way through. The one before that was, you read half of the Chinese clone story. So after you finish the fucking Hawaiian tribal one, then you read the second half of the clone story. Then you read the second half of the one that was before that, and before that, before that. So the last thing that you read in the book is the second half of the story you started with. One. And it all blends together.
That's some fucking Memento-ass writing.
It all blends together in this beautiful like melange of like historical intrigue.
Who wrote Memento?
That is Jonathan Nolan.
That was
Christopher Nolan's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christopher Nolan directed it, right?
Yeah. Jonathan Nolan's a great like timeline fucker with
That was
He always does like the fucking reverse time shit. You look,
like
watch
Inception.
Westworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never watched Westworld.
Oh, check it out. First season's unbelievable.
I've heard.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Cloud Atlas, great book. Fucking read it. Movie is okay, whatever. But
That was a wild divergence.
the idea that they made a movie off of that book is fucking hard to understand. And the reason it's all Tarantino Pulp Fiction with fucking jumping around all over the place is they couldn't figure out how to film it in that structure. But the structure makes the book.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it.
Okay.
An Atlas of the Clouds is what it's talking about. Cloud Atlas. Which is kind of impossible because time is never ending
and clouds move.
Always changing yet never changing.
Clouds move a lot.
Exactly.
Can't make an atlas.
Just like time. Can't pinpoint a moment in time because time is fluid and never changing. So allow me to pinpoint this moment in time.
We go back to our Patreon.
Yeah. The Patreon episode on this one is fun.
Actually, I think that'll come out the week after this one comes out.
Okay.
Unless Drew wants to fuckulate the time. We could.
Anyway.
Now
we're going to go on to prehistory. We're going to bounce it back. We're going to Cloud Atlas it.
Oh.
All right. We came all the way to the time of historians.
Okay.
And now we're going to bounce back to the beginning of time.
Love it.
Not the beginning of time. That would be stupid. So I want to talk about the true of the long ago.
Okay.
The before times.
Okay.
So follow me into the mists of time.
Oh boy.
Well, here we are in the Paleolithic. Hey, Drew, where'd you come from?
Drew, what the fuck? Hey, Drew.
Yo.
Drew's here.
You been here the whole time?
I've been here the whole time. We're doing some Cloud Atlas stuff where it's backwards and forwards and
because everything blends together into a melange of the beauty of time. Okay,
I
didn't notice.
Yeah.
I didn't notice you here this whole time. That's crazy.
It's weird like that.
Okay, so anyway, here we are in the
Like it was edited in or something.
No, that's crazy.
Crazy. So here we are. Here we are in the
ancient aliens.
We're talking about the Paleolithic period, which is also known as the Old Stone Age, which is about 12,000 years ago.
Okay. Jesus, you went way back.
Yes, we're just gonna go back because there's human history before.
Yeah,
in a form, right? But it's hard to delineate how human they were.
Okay,
because we've got 3.4 million years ago is evidence of like cut marked animal bones.
That's right. Yeah,
right?
we talked about that on an episode.
In Dakika, Ethiopia. There are the marks of tools on bones that suggest that early hominids like Australopithecus used sharp stones to butcher animals.
Interesting.
Right? So that's right around the time we're thinking about the Homo sapiens sapien, Homo erectus, the divergence in evolution.
Okay.
Right? So like 3.4 million years ago, we can figure that's when the differential cultures or species even were using tools.
Right.
Now, much like you were aware that chimpanzees in like Gombe recently started using tools like the Stone Age.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those same kind of tools to cut meats and things and use ropes, like
sure.
they've moved into the Stone Age.
Okay.
Which is a crazy thing to
that is crazy
exist during because they're all going to be dead soon.
Our fault. Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
100%,
Chips.
100%. We should give them guns.
Just start building gun ranges.
Yeah, just build them a cool fucking some stone huts and shake them spears. Let's just go.
Just start give them some pistols and gun ranges, unlimited ammo. Just some fucking some headphones.
Start naming them all Caesar.
Name them Caesar. Teach them
how to ride horses.
Ape not kill ape, and then teach them to betray each other. It's gonna be cool. So that was about 3.4 million years ago. Was the advent of tool use?
Okay.
Which is not
crazy because ravens use fucking.
Well, that's true, but it's
tools,
also not a great marker of where we can say that higher intellect in hominids was
because ravens will use sticks to pull grubs out of fucking logs.
So 2.6 to 1.7 million years ago, somewhere in that million.
Do you think ravens are descended from like velociraptors?
Yeah, birds are dinosaurs. Everyone knows that.
But what I'm saying
you see
is
Jurassic Park?
I mean, beyond Jurassic Park, there's a lot of evidence.
Beyond Jurassic Park is my sequel to Jurassic Park 3, which I don't know if we ever talked about. See,
where they were parasailing?
Bring back the kids from Jurassic Park 3, they were parasailing.
Parasailing accident.
And then William H. Macy and Tara Leone.
Yeah, I remember.
It was crazy.
Tia Leone.
In beyond Jurassic Park 4, bring the kids back from Jurassic Park, the original one, except now like Timmy is
like 40.
He's 40, but he's an esteemed archaeologist and paleontologist. And,
Because of that.
He's come back to the islands to research, I've got a whole treatment for Beyond Jurassic Park.
Okay.
You know what I think they should do with Jurassic Park?
Stop making movies?
Yeah.
Though, actually, have you seen the newest one?
No.
Let Chris Pratt just take take
more
over
Chris Pratt.
all the writing, all the directing, all the acting.
You know what we should do with Chris Pratt?
Chris Pratt should be like a Medea movie. Chris Pratt should play every character,
every dinosaur.
Yeah. Like an Eddie Murphy or a Tyler Perry movie. You let Chris Pratt play every single character, every single dinosaur. It's all Chris Pratt, and he writes it, he directs it, he acts in every role.
I would rather kill myself than watch that movie.
I would actually watch that movie over one of the more recent Jurassic Parks.
That's true.
You see how well you guys know me. You know what we should do with Chris Pratt?
Tell him maybe take better roles.
No. Drew?
Kill him?
Kill him. Where?
Behind the dumpster.
Behind a dumpster.
I didn't have to kill Chris Pratt for taking shitty roles.
I don't find him that offensive.
Fuck that guy. But the new one is actually really good. It's fucking super cool.
Oh, wait, didn't he do some fucked up shit or something?
Who?
No.
Chris Pratt? I don't know. He just sucks. He's a dickhead.
Yeah, okay.
Is he a dickhead?
Yeah, he's a dickhead.
Why?
Look at him. His head's a dick.
I liked him on Parks and Rec.
He's good in Parks and Rec. When he was a chubby,
charming.
funny guy, and now he sucks.
Oh, this guy got fucking popular and had the opportunity to make Marvel and Jurassic Park money. What a dickhead.
If we're doing a segment where where you're fucking defending Chris Pratt, I'm going to take this fucking microphone off and I'm going to walk out of the fucking studio right now. I'm not doing a defend
Why
Chris
are you
Pratt.
taking my microphone?
You don't own any of those.
Yeah, these are not your microphones.
I'll take the headphones off. I was fucking walk, okay?
I'm not defending Chris Pratt. I'm saying
good. Don't.
Oh, he's serious. You should have seen his face. I wish we were recording.
Seriously.
So somewhere between.
So if Delete Everything podcast takes off, right, and you can quit your job, you're not allowed to go to the gym and get fit and like get it make your lifestyle better in any way, shape, or form. Okay, just so you don't sell out. I don't want you to sell out, bud. Don't sell out.
I was just pissed that he was Mario.
I don't want to talk about Chris Pratt anymore, but there's so much more to him sucking than that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Tell me about history. Tell me about the history.
How about you say, like, hey, if this takes off, maybe don't ruin Jurassic Park. Okay? Because I can do that. I can be rich as fuck and not ruin Jurassic Park.
You put all that on Chris Pratt?
Yeah. Have you seen those fucking movies?
He took a role. He didn't write it.
Put more of that on Colin Trevorrow or whatever the fuck his name is.
He took the role.
He took the role.
He took the job. He got paid for that shit.
And Jeff Goldblum came back for the third one.
Yeah, but he phones it in so hard.
Yeah.
Sam Neill phones it in. Laura Dern phones it in. What's the difference? That it was already ruined and they knew it. There's no saving it.
It was a paycheck. I never saw the third one.
The
second one was so
it's bad. It's miserable.
Aggressively
but
bad.
Like Sam Neill has about 3 lines.
How much money do you think he made?
I don't give a fuck.
How much money do you think he made?
$8 million.
Okay. If you were a good
I
enough,
would fuck up a franchise for $8 million.
Same.
Easily.
If you were a good enough actor and sought out enough actor.
Here's the thing.
And wait.
No.
And somebody came to you
You're
and
doing
said,
the Defend Chris Pratt show. I'm not doing that. Here's the thing.
Welcome back to Defend Chris
Here's the
Pratt
thing,
with Patrick and
motherfucker.
Riley.
Yeah, I might take the role. But I'd have to also accept the fact that the people who loved that franchise are going to fucking hate me.
I don't think
he signed up for that. He signed up to be hated.
I think you're making him a scapegoat.
Yeah,
he's not the scapegoat. He did it.
You're one of those people putting it all on the actor.
Do you hate Blair Howard?
Yeah.
She seems like a lovely
person. I don't know who that is. Who's Blair Howard?
The redhead.
Oh, that's fucking, what's her name?
Ron Howard's daughter.
Yeah, hate her too. Hate every one of those movies.
She seems like a very nice lady.
Hate the guy who directed them. Hate the guy who wrote them. Every producer.
Is
every
it Blair?
Fucking,
Blair, right?
Every fucking hand on those sets.
What's her name?
Fuck
it's
all
a B
of
name.
them.
It's a B name. B name Howard. I don't know if it's Blair.
Dallas Bryce.
Dallas
Bryce. That's right. Dallas Bryce.
Bryce Dallas.
Fuck her. Fuck
Bryce Dallas?
everyone in those movies.
Yeah.
Ron Howard's daughter. Redhead.
Yeah, great. Bad. Ruined. Fired. All those movies. Burn. Bad.
Jesus.
You did it. I said, like,
I blame the writer. I blame the director. I blame the fucking
I blame everyone who profited from it.
I blame the studio.
Every single person who took a second, because there is no form of reading that script and being like, "Hey, this is really good." No one could have done that. No, not one person.
No,
not
the
one
studio
person read
I
it
would argue that about
this
JP3 too.
The studio says we're going to pay you $8 million for this, and you go,
yeah, exactly. That means they have to take my hate as well. That's in the contract.
How long is the recording schedule? 9 months? Okay, I'll make $8 million in 9 months.
Fuck
Thank
them.
you.
Fuck all of that.
I'd do it.
Are we gonna keep all this Jurassic Park shit in?
I don't know. Can I?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go back to history, though. For real. The history of Jurassic Park.
I said I didn't want to talk about
The
fucking
whole
Chris Pratt.
reason that this came up is because I said, do you think that ravens are descended from velociraptors? Because velociraptors
I
were...
said, yeah, obviously.
Because
Because Alan Grant said so.
No,
In Jurassic Park,
velociraptors...
a property that I love.
Oh, my God. Velociraptor, they had large brains based on, fucking fossil records. They had large, complex brains. They were probably some of the smarter dinosaurs. Also, they were further down the evolution of dinosaurs. And so, therefore, they were a little smarter. That's why they hunted in packs. That's why they were a little more efficient as prey animals.
That new Jurassic Park is really good.
Predator
though.
animals. Sorry,
I'll say that.
predators.
The Scarlett Johansson one is
I'm
fucking
shocked to hear that.
Dude, it's fucking dope.
Anyway, that's why I was saying, do you think that ravens who will like, you can train a raven to go steal somebody's money for you and bring it back to you? Yeah.
That's so Raven. Moving on.
Let's take a beat. Riley's all worked up.
He really is.
Let's remember we love each other.
Still got
Okay.
fucking 12 pages here, okay?
Holy shit.
We're
hell
never
yeah.
going to make it.
Yeah, let's make it.
It's the entire history of the Earth. So 2.6 to 1.7 million years ago. It is the range of a million years
That's
difference.
it.
Fuck.
That's the oldest stone tools called Oldowan tools appear in
Can we
Ethiopia.
roll it back a little more, or roll it back a little more, and can you tell me about how the Earth formed, or maybe the singularity that sparked existence, or something?
I can. You want to
He's
do that?
doing you. He's doing you. It's a good impression.
What?
You were very disruptive sometimes whenever other people do the research for a show. I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, God. That's annoying. That's what I sound like?
We're hashing.
I knew it the whole
we're
time.
hashing
Fuck
it all
you.
out. It's our 1 year episode, and we're hashing out. We're getting all the fucking all the shit out today.
So, all right. So that was, like fucking million years ago.
2.7 to 1.7 million years ago. Same tools the whole time.
It's 2.6 to 1.7, but okay.
Sorry.
So that's the oldest stone tools called Oldowan tools that appear in Ethiopia. They're like complex hand axes and stuff like that. Like instead of just like, I got a sharp rock, it's like, I put a handle on this. I affixed this to a stick.
Okay.
You're making like spears and hammers.
Taking
and
a
things like
sharp
that.
rock, sharpening it up.
Yeah, so
affixing
that
it with
style
rawhide.
of complex tools with handles and stuff, maybe like atlatls and shit like that.
What is?
Atlatls, they're like short wooden like spear throwers. They got a little. It's like a stick with a little notch in it. You put your spear in the notch, and then you. It's like those things that help you throw tennis balls for dogs, like the long arm.
Yeah.
If you put a spear in there instead of a tennis ball,
Really?
it's an atlatl. Yeah, it's
Never
like
even knew that
it's
existed.
it's one of the great advances of technology. It's like
Really?
that's like before and after the atlatl is completely different worlds because they helped take down larger prey like fucking mastodons.
Mammoth. Yeah.
Yeah, a depiction of that is actually here on my hand.
Riley got
I got
a
a
new
new tattoo. It's a cave painting. Anyway,
Did you?
yeah, I've been talking about it.
I haven't heard anything about this.
So okay, so that's when we start finding historians and historiographers get to find those hand tools, and then they can really put a place on like where human development was 3 million years ago, right?
Okay.
So continuing on, things are very, very simple in human development for millions of years,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and again, the changes between Australopithecus or Homo sapiens sapiens or Cro-Magnon man, all these different things,
Mm-hmm.
they're all swirling around out there. It's a world with smart monkeys, essentially. Not that smart, but smart enough to make tools and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's still hairy and fucking like there's no real like permanent
there-
residences. Cavemen,
Is there
essentially.
a direct correlation between hairiness and intelligence?
Yes. Actually, there really is.
Speaking as a hairy man,
I'm medium hairy.
are you hairy? Aren't you Greek or something?
Fuck you, dude.
Okay, moving on.
I don't have
So-
back hair. I don't have shoulder hair. I have a beard and long hair?
I have been on.
I don't even
this-
have long hair anymore.
So we have zoomed through like the entire history of history thus far in the past hour, and then over the past fucking 20 minutes, I've been trying to get past this paragraph.
What changed?
What changed okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So about 73,000 years ago, the oldest known abstract rock drawings were discovered. Or not like
How long ago?
It wasn't discovered 73,000 years ago, but we discovered 73,000-year-old abstract rock drawings.
Okay.
Okay? Those are discovered in the Blombos cave in South Africa.
Not the same thing.
What do you think? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Blombos, baby, Blombos.
Bat needs a second. He's done.
I had just taken a sip of my beer when you
Yeah.
said Blombos.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So yeah, they find these 73,000-year-old cave drawings. The markings resemble like African braids and things like that, like adornments and bracelets that would have
Box braids.
box braids and like fucking straight line edges and designs.
Mhm.
You know, latticing things like
Okay.
that. They suggest early humans were capable of symbolic thinking.
If you look at a lot of those old Sumerian drawings and stuff, a lot of those sort of drawings of like ancient kings and stuff, they had the braids.
Right.
They had like the box braid look.
Well, in this context, we're thinking just carvings,
Mhm.
but it's like think of like later like Irish knots, Celtic knots
Okay.
drawn and stuff like that. That sort of crisscrossing patterns.
Mhm.
This is like an early precursor to that,
Okay.
right? They also discovered ground pigment, you know, the reds, blues, things like that. You know, coming
Nice.
from dirt, rocks, flowers, and shell tools and shaped beads.
Cool.
So that's like more of an advanced caveman, essentially. It was in Blombos Cave. 64,000-year-old discovery. Neanderthals left abstract art, including red ochre markings and hand stencils in the caves in Spain.
Okay.
Right, so that's like the put your hand up there and you blow the pigment over it.
Right.
You know. That demonstrated symbolic behavior that wasn't just like limited to Homo sapiens, because those are Neanderthals doing that.
Right.
Right? It's a depiction that not just us, not just Homo sapiens, were using abstract concepts in art,
Right.
right? So when Homo sapiens eradicated Neanderthals, we were committing genocide
Did
on
it really
thinking
eradicate? There's a lot. There's a lot
people.
of
Crushed.
There's a lot of
quelled,
there's a lot of
concluded.
evidence that a lot of the reason why they went extinct is because Homo sapiens refused to breed with them.
Mm.
There's a lot of evidence, and by the way, there are still a lot of people alive today who still have Neanderthal blood,
Yo.
and they're
Yeah.
pretty much all like
Looking at my dating
Scandinavian.
history.
Scandinavians, because
According to 23andMe, that's me.
the
You have Neanderthal
really,
blood?
Mhm.
Tight.
really,
Yeah.
I can see it.
the
Fuck you.
Let me measure your forehead real quick. The going theory is that at some point from cradle of civilization, you know, that sort of North African, Arabian Peninsula area, they navigated north to like northern Europe.
Yeah.
Russia area, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, that area. But what's interesting is that, you know, Spain is still just on the other side of the Mediterranean from northern Africa.
Yeah.
So to have evidence of Neanderthal cave, you know, handprint shit there is pretty fucking.
Well, it just shows how wide ranging.
That means they came back down into a temperate climate.
Yeah, or I mean, even there were like pockets left over already living in that area from the original migrations.
Interesting.
You know, that were advanced, that could grind pigment and had abstract thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, the difference between Neanderthal and Homo sapien is not
Dicks. Big
huge.
dicks.
Yeah, Neanderthals had bigger dicks.
Yeah.
You're welcome,
Everyone
Drew.
knows.
Eh,
All right. So,
I'm a humble man.
He said,
so about 45,500 years ago in Indonesia, the earliest known figurative cave paintings.
45.5?
45.5.
Okay.
45,500 years ago. The earliest known figurative cave painting depicts a Sulawesi warty pig. So it's a cave painting of a particular kind of pig.
And this sounds
is
like in Africa?
in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Right?
Okay.
The discovery challenged the long-held view that complex cave art began in Europe. And it is actually a pretty fucking cool drawing. You can look it up.
I wonder who pushed that narrative.
Right? Yeah. It could, yeah.
Jesus
But
fuck.
I mean, we also know in Indonesia and some of like the islands around that area, there were, you know, different offshoots of you know, Paleolithic tribes and stuff that would that slightly diverged from the otherwise, you know, contemporarily known evolutionary path.
I mean, those would logically have come from modern day India, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam,
yeah. So just moving into that
and
into that
down
path.
and down, you know, into Indonesia, because it's not that, it's a landmass that's, you know, separated by water, but I mean, not that big of a. But
Well, in Indonesia, they also discovered
What's
some
crazy-
years ago, like a form of pygmy
yeah,
that was around like the same time period.
yeah. What's
you know?
crazy is that from that point, so 45,500 years ago, from that point, you can almost envision these tribes going out into the South Pacific, south and east from there, And that's where you get into, and I would love to do an episode about navigators.
That would be cool.
That's the part where navigation.
That's the
really,
human history shit that I love, because that's like the fire of humanity.
Yeah, that's star navigation.
I have to explore. Yeah,
that's star navigation in the South Pacific, where from one island to the next is like fucking 1,000 miles away.
You know what I like to think about?
Yeah,
actually, is like the first people looking up at the sky and being like, "Wait, is that shit there? That's not just like sky stuff. Like it moves and comes back."
Yeah.
Like that must have just been like
in a cyclical way.
Yeah,
you have to have years and years and years of observation and tracking and writing it down.
Yeah, that's just cool. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
And
that's
you
good.
think about that from like a primitive, because primitive tribesmen.
I love the evolution of man in like the caveman periods and like the history that we can learn from that.
Yeah,
and like the real nature of animalistic humanity is I fucking love that shit.
Same.
So moving forward, we got to get through some of this because we're starting to drag a little bit on time. 30 to 40,000 years ago, the oldest known Venus figurine shows up. It's called the Venus of Hohlfels. It's carved from a mammoth's tusk in Germany. You familiar with the Venus carvings?
I know the Venus de Milo.
The Venus de Milo is like Venus de Milo. I think is not really a offshoot of this. All these other Venuses, like the prehistoric Venuses, were discovered after. They're small, like handheld figurines.
I mean, it wouldn't be Venus because that was a Greek goddess.
Well, yeah. The reason they're called the Venuses is because they're female body sculptures, small ones that seem to be like lacking arms.
Some sort of like goddess of fertility type.
Exactly.
Of thing.
You ever see 13th Warrior?
Probably not.
Antonio Banderas, great movie.
No.
But they
they
reference the Venus of Willendorf, which actually I have a tattoo of.
Yeah, like little fertility ladies.
Yeah, that was another fertility. The Venus of Willendorf was a fertility symbol that was found in Willendorf, Germany.
Yeah.
By the way, if this goes long, it's our 1 year anniversary.
Oh yeah, everybody suck my dick, whatever. So
we can edit that little part out. But
no, don't.
Okay, fine.
I love you guys, so just suck it a little bit. So like there over one of the great associations of the Venus figurines are just like the things you can learn from just the sculpture of what is essentially a headless woman with no arms,
right?
Or that's the way it's perceived at first, right? And the one of Hohlfels is like very rugged. It's carved out of a mammoth tusk. It's very like jagged shapes. Like the boobs are kind of like pointy. Madonna,
like Lara Croft.
Yeah, Lara Croft kind of Madonna titties, and it's just big fat ass on this mama, which is the association with the fertility thing. Just like a thickened.
She got birthing hips.
Yeah, exactly.
Hot.
Right? Like,
she got birthing hips and suckling tits.
Later, you look at like the Venus of Willendorf, which is another like 1,000 years later or something, but also associated with prehistoric man. And some of the connotations coming off of that is that it's actually a woman with her hands like over holding her hands over her breasts. So they're just kind of like indented instead of like by her sides. So it's not like armless. And then the fact that there's no face on the Venus, the association of that can be that it was actually carved by the woman that it's based on, which is why the hips and the breasts are kind of distended and there's no face. So she couldn't look at her own face to do it.
Do you think it's just that, or the head got broken off at some point?
The head's not broken off on the Venus of Willendorf. You can see the head.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it would be too presumptuous to say that the heads were broken off of all of these.
That's true.
A lot of it might have to do with matriarchal society and the fact that if you're not hunting and gathering, or like the men are out doing something, the ones doing the art or the sculpture and the carving would be women.
Which if you look at a lot of the Pacific, Polynesian, South Pacific, African, even South American indigenous cultures, even North American indigenous cultures, there were a lot of matriarchal societies.
Yeah, it was very, very common. Very common.
Patriarchal societies really started in Europe, Asia. Which
is interesting because this is like, so like fucking Venus of Willendorf is discovered in like fucking the early 1900s, right? And it reinforces this idea through some analysis at like 40 years later of a matriarchal society or matriarchal artists, right? So we're talking now fucking million years after this little stone idol's carved. Some dickhead in a museum is looking at it and be like, yeah, maybe some chick carved
maybe
this,
the ladies were in charge here.
Exactly. Because by the time history starts being recorded,
wacky.
By the time we get like good records, we're living almost predominantly in patriarchal societies. Right? So it like erased like the history of woman being powerful in the earth is like fucking erased just from like a lack of historical evidence. It's crazy. Drew, you look like you want to say something there.
No.
I want to say to all of our female listeners that women are beautiful, bold, wiser than men.
Were you just singing that song?
No. So, all right. Now,
Bad, bold, wiser.
Moving on to 35,000 years ago, you've got some elaborate,
strong,
you've got
brighter,
elaborate paintings of rhinos and other animals that appear in France's Chauvet Cave, marking a high point of Paleolithic art.
Rhinos in France.
Yes, actually, this is what's fucking cool. 35,000 years ago, you've got paintings of rhinos, and not just a painting of just like some rhino, like a really cool designy one. Like,
you got to go across the Mediterranean and real far down into the African continent to find rhinos.
Right. So the thing is,
Aliens.
It was aliens. Well, the thing is, like, so you could attribute this to someone traveling from Africa, but like that's a fuckload of travel.
That is a lot.
You could attribute it to oral tradition storytelling, but it's really accurate.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good looking rhino. It looks, whoever fucking drew that shit had seen a rhinoceros, which means that there were rhinos in France.
That's
another take on history, man. But that's like, you can't really refute it because there it is. It's recorded. It's written. It's there.
That's fucking interesting.
Interesting, right? And it doesn't stop there. So that
doesn't mean that there were rhinos in France. I mean, you could get from, Middle Africa to France within a few years.
I guess.
I don't know if that long ago, if anybody was going. I find it
it's crazy to think about, but I mean, it is possible.
Shockingly accurate, like portrayal of a rhinoceros in your head for several years.
Sure, why not?
I guess.
Some people are more artistically minded. I mean, it doesn't.
You know what? I find.
Who's to say this guy wasn't doing little fucking doodles of rhinos the whole way?
That's something really interesting too.
Guy or girl? I'm sorry.
I think that's really interesting too, because like the fact that all of these drawings in the Chauvet Cave, which I believe is the one Herzog did the documentary on, which is a fucking cool documentary, they have an abstract design to them that has obviously been practiced and crafted. Like, it's an artist that did these. It's not just fucking stick figures on the shithouse wall. This is fucking like art that somebody has dedicated a lot of time to. Very cool. Very cool shit. My personal favorite one of these is actually about 15 to 20,000 years ago. The Lascaux and Altamira caves in France and Spain feature stunningly detailed animal paintings, some created to appear three-dimensional, right? And really interesting, colorful, obviously stylistic, and a heavily designed, impressionistic, artistic depictions of animals. Another interesting thing about that is that with all of these animals being like so heavily drawn and produced and like really well done, the depictions of human beings are almost always really, really simple. Are almost really always really simple. Just like they're stick figures with boobs or dicks. That's like like so much care put into the representation of animals.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And in these the Lascaux and Altamira caves, it's like the crazy thing about it is like it's depictions of packs.
Yeah, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty. It's just male or female.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you got.
Male person, but they're not telling the story of humans. Obviously, they're telling the story of animals.
Right.
So in those like the Spanish and French caves, you've got like a pack of lions, and they'll all be next to each other in this sequence, and they'll all have like different facial expressions. It's that accurate that it's like it's obviously somebody who has seen multiple lions standing together, looking at things and having different facial.
That to me indicates, because listen, there's no way that there were lions and rhinos in France, and that we've never had any fossil evidence of that. That indicates to me that there was a group.
How do you know that there's no fossil evidence? Have you researched that?
I have not.
I think that they were there. I think absolutely they were there. Drew's looking it up right now.
Thank God, because I don't want to. But
all right, so moving forward a little bit into the Neolithic period, is the New Stone Age, looking at like 9,000 BCE, right?
Okay, so both direct skeletal remains and artistic depictions provide evidence of the woolly rhinoceros in France during the last ice age.
Bam.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that shit was there.
Woolly, too.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Woolly bully. So, okay, so 9,500 BCE, we're moving out of the era of caves, looking at the Göbekli Tepe, which is in modern-day Turkey. It's the oldest known monumental stone structure. It's large carved pillars It was erected by hunter-gatherers, challenging the assumption that settled agricultural communities were a prerequisite for such complex projects. It's recognized as the first long-standing human settlement. It's called Gobekli Tepe. It's interesting. I wouldn't call it pretty. It's more like this is pretty rudimentary. Like they moved a bunch of stones, they created pillars, like they built walls out of rock.
I would imagine it was pretty utilitarian.
It's pretty utilitarian.
Yeah.
It's not a very artistic representation, but it is like obviously a lot of effort and human like work went into it.
Yeah.
So 7500 BCE, the Neolithic settlement at, this is hard to say, it's a Turkish word, Çatalhöyük in Turkey. So that settlement's flourishing. The village features unique architecture with houses built directly against one another, which has never been done before. You know, like the idea that they built a huge framework with multiple people living in the framework, kind of like the Hopi Indians in New Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. 6000 BCE, the earliest megalithic structures such as the Almendres cromlech appear in Portugal. Do you know what a cromlech is?
No.
Okay.
Why would I know that?
When you see some stone, when you see some stone structures, it's usually like, hey, look at us, we're powerful, we move rocks. That was like the original sort of intent. Like we all together make this thing, you know, and then obviously for protection and utilitarian purposes. But like if you think of like Easter Island, like the Easter Island sculptures, like you're not using that as a farming tool. No, Stonehenge actually has some purposes. We'll get into it. Okay. But like this is obviously look how great we are.
Druids.
The idea of the idea of art as like a big like look at how big our dicks are sort of thing. But a cromlech,
it's kind of still what art is, right?
Yeah, still pretty much, yeah.
When you flexing your nuts.
When you see the shape of the cromlech, which is like a big ring of monolithic stones, it's two rings actually. One's up top, kind of oblong in like a big area, and another more circular towards the bottom.
Do you know where in Portugal this is located?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's it's called the Almendres cromlech.
I've been to Portugal. I did not know this existed. Otherwise, I probably would have made a trek out there.
Well, to me, like this particular cultural site is where you get to see the evidence of like, oh, this is mankind. Like this is the power of man. This is the perception of the world. Because a cromlech is essentially a stone house. You get like pillars and a roof or stone pillars used to build shelters off of. You know, you put a pillar there and then you can, you know, tie your fucking tent or put a few sticks on there and lean something against it and you make a shelter, right? And you could do that during like seasonal migration. So the cromlech, as the seasons passed, you could start having a shelter on one side of it, and as the sun sort of like shifted around and did stuff, you could keep moving it. Say you needed to move like your crops or what you were doing month to month to get better sunlight or better exposure or anything like that. You just move around the cromlech all year, which is pretty interesting. But the reason the Almendres cromlech is special because it's just pillars. Right, one's like a big oval pattern, one's smaller, right? And do you know what does that bring to mind? You got one big like oval shape and then like a smaller circle right at the bottom.
Some sort of temple or something.
Do you know what an analemma is?
No.
An analemma is
an enema.
An anal emma.
Anal enema. I think all enemas are anal.
No, an analemma is a 3-year time lapse of the sun. You ever seen that? Like a stationary camera take a picture of the position of the sun as it goes through like a 3-year cycle, and it makes this sort of like pseudo figure 8.
That's cool.
Right? So the cromlech is built in that same pattern because they obviously settled it for long enough that they could see the way that the shadows would work and how well like the sun would hit certain spots around it. Right? So it's this like crazy fusion of the astrological with the practical.
I always like, you know, people make a big hubbub. They're like, oh, how could it, mostly the ancient aliens crowd, you know, how could these ancient people have this accurately done this or that when in regards to things in the heavens?
Because they ain't got dick else to do. That's
exactly. That was the point I was going to get to. I'm like, what the fuck else are they going to do?
Jerk off, throw a rock at a tree? What the fuck am I doing?
Fucking paint another stick figure with some titties?
I fucking blow some paint on my hand in a cave. Why don't I? Great. Fucking. Oh shit! I got to run from this thing. Jesus Christ. So about 3000 BC, you get megalithic burial sites, often marked with large stone boulders that become really, really common around Europe and Italy, and that's where you get your Stonehenge.
Okay.
Like the evidence is that it's kind of like an analemma in the circular form, but it also is used for burial and whatever religious purposes. Because obviously, if you're living if like your life is based around a site that is based specifically around the movement of the sun, and that's where you're getting your food, and that's like helping you predict the weather and shit, that's what leads into sun worship.
Right.
Right? So these become your first proto-temples of mankind. Like the caves first for the artwork, right? Which is sort of a worship of animals because they're some other ungodly power. Once you get comfortable enough killing and eating those fucking things, they're no longer something you're worshiping so much. What's the next thing to worship? The other thing that's bringing you food, the sun.
Yeah.
So that's all kind of organic. The ritual becomes sacred, and then, there it is.
I've been to Stonehenge.
Really?
Yeah?
Yeah.
You pee on it?
No. I did chip a piece off and take it. No, I'm kidding. Well,
Are you?
Back, my grandmother, who was English, she was telling me, we specifically went out to Salisbury to see Stonehenge when we went over there because I was way into history as a kid. Not so much now. But,
history's fucking gay.
fucking God. She was telling me that, like, back when she was growing up, people would just go up and, like, jump all over the rocks and, like, chip pieces of it off and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because there wasn't this great, like, regard for it until...
Well, it's kind of like we have, like, the fort we have here in St. Augustine. It's like, you can walk right up to it and chip a piece of that fucker off if you want.
Easily.
Yeah. You can.
I've
But
never done that.
you can't go up and touch Stonehenge anymore. It's, like, roped off. But
Damn.
It was cool. There's definitely a vibe there, like...
You can do whatever you want if you're willing to deal with the consequences,
Well, that's true, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I used to walk up there and rub my dick on it. So prehistory in this term, around like 1500 BCE, you kind
should have
of
rubbed my dick on it.
it sort of ends, like this whole historical period of prehistory ends with the creation of these the cromlechs and Stonehenges and things like that, because now you've got these big markers that lead to cities, because once you have a permanent settled site, you're going to expand on it and keep building, and that's how you get your first real big settlements that turn into things like fucking Grecian areas.
Okay.
Right? So that's the end of prehistory, essentially, and then leading into Herodotus around 400 something BC. So since we're coming to the end of prehistory, I want to comment on some different things about prehistory that we can't really quantify, can't really put a finger on, and that is the oral tradition of storytelling. Because the majority of cultural events through all of human history have been told like around the campfire. And it's always been like my grandfather's grandfather, once like fucking killed a mammoth by himself, or like, the enemies came from long ago and this great hero, bested them all with a fucking big rock or something,
Still, I mean, I would still say that's a thing when you gather in a certain way, particularly around a fire.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever feel like this thing kind of activated in you?
Constantly, dude. Like, if you,
that's why I love doing fires.
You and your friends like sit around a fire, there's a conversational angle to it. I would say that in a way, what we're doing right now is the exact representation of that. It's just the fire is electric.
I mean, it's kind of fire.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing is fire as fuck, bro. But it's
the best podcast.
So we actually, I mean, like, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, we fit quite firmly into the oral tradition of storytelling right now. Sitting in a semicircle.
I mean, yeah, technically so.
I'm not drunk, but I think Pat is.
Well, listen, let's not put labels on people. I've got some things going on in my life, and
but anyway, so like
I was writing show notes for an hour before you got here. I cracked my first beer.
I'm just fucking with you, bud.
We've done.
Don't get all drunk ragey on me, okay?
We're 4 hours into recording.
So, like many oral tradition myths comment on unrecorded historical events, often preserving the memory of real places, natural disasters, and cultural conflicts across thousands of years. Right? Oral histories are often encoded with symbolic, mythological, or allegorical elements, so their meaning often requires interpretation. It's just like the Darmok and Jalad fucking thing we were talking about from Star Trek. Like you say Shaka when the walls fell, you don't know what the fuck Shaka when the walls fell means. But if somebody had sat around a campfire and told the story of Shaka being real sad when this city crumbled, Tanagra, and the walls fell, right? Like, then you could say, oh, Shaka when the walls fell, and then you'd understand
you have
that they're
context,
sad. Yeah.
Were you saying real words?
Did you
weren't
ever
here
watch
for that.
Star Trek?
No, not a Star Trek person.
I guess you weren't there for that.
You were in the past.
Yeah, so you were in the future. We've moved from the past. What is the timeline on this? What's the timeline on anything?
Oh, God,
it all comes together. It's a rippling Venn diagram of ever flowing, a shifting time. Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. All we are is dust in the wind, dude. Okay, so cataclysmic geological events throughout oral storytelling are here's a few of them. So Crater Lake in Oregon,
Also been there.
yeah, very famous, right?
Very
That's the one
pretty.
that's got Wizard Island.
Yes.
Yeah, fucking gorgeous. I actually just had some friends that I'm fucking a little just so jealous of right now. Like attended a wedding out there, and this one friend of mine is like one of the most beautiful women in the world. They had all these pictures of her in like a bridesmaid gown, like looking into the sunset at Crater Lake. I'm like, fuck you. You don't get to. Nobody gets to do. Fuck you. But Crater Lake in Oregon, the Klamath. The Klamath tribe's oral traditions describe a great battle between the deity of the underworld, Lao, and the sky god Skel, which ended with the collapse of a volcano. This corresponds to geologists finding that Mount Mazama violently erupted about 7,700 years ago, forming the caldera now filled by Crater Lake. So there is a literal story of gods fighting that created this geological region,
Yeah.
right? Which, like, yeah, boom,
I mean,
that's a marker. There's your
that's
history.
That's what humans do.
Right. The Black Sea flood. Many flood myths, particularly in the Middle East, have originated from the flooding of the Black Sea basin around 5600 BC. The Great Flood of biblical lore,
The Noah flood.
the Noah flood, that is thought to be based on the Black Sea flood.
Okay.
It's an event that would have been a cataclysmic experience for the people living in the area at the time. And like totally changed the landscape, essentially. Aboriginal Australian tribes have songlines. Many songlines or oral narratives describe coastal areas that have been underwater for millennia. But then, of course, the Aborigines of Australia are one of the oldest known peoples and civilizations in the world.
Yeah.
So they have stories that have been matched with underwater topography, which shows that the landforms they describe are consistent with submerged coastlines from as far back as 6,000 years ago after post-ice age sea levels. The Buj Bim eruption, which is a creation myth among the Guantajmara people of Australia, describes a volcanic eruption at Lake Surprise. This story appears to accurately recall the eruption of a volcano that has been dormant for over 37,000 years, making it one of the oldest known preserved oral traditions.
Interesting.
You know, things like political conflict and battles. One of the oral traditions that more accurately describes a historical event than the evidence is the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Okay.
Yeah. Well-written accounts of the battle describe Custer's last stand as an organized defensive effort. The oral traditions of the victorious Sioux told of a chaotic retreat. Archaeological evidence found in the 1980s and 90s largely supports the indigenous narrative of disorganized fighting. Right? So, like, where the losers would be like, we were noble and dignified. The Sioux, who are only doing the oral tradition at the time,
Right.
Tell a more accurate version of that history than the written and
Like,
disseminated
them crackers
printed
ran.
report. Yeah, like the report printed in the newspaper would have been like, they nobly fell back after that leader was massacred by the
Right.
savages. And the savages over there are like, they're a bunch of fucking punk bitches. And they all ran away crying. The Trojan War. For centuries, the legendary Trojan War detailed in Homer's epic The Iliad was thought to be entirely fictional. However, archaeological excavations in Turkey revealed the ruins of the city of Troy, suggesting that Homer's narrative was likely based on a real siege that was passed down.
Interesting.
There's just a fuckload of
Did they
these.
find a horse?
No, it would have been made of wood. That wouldn't have happened. Personifying natural forces in some of these tales, like attributing natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions to the actions of deities, monsters, or mythical heroes, it's a common way to explain and remember a catastrophic event. Sometimes the reenactment of an event through ritual or ceremony helps preserve the details of a historical moment for generations. Like, what were we talking about? The fucking on Patreon, the Tomato Festival.
Yeah.
Right? That's just a re-representation of an event that happened in like the 40s. So it's the same sort of ritualistic historical storytelling. Myths create a shared narrative that shape a culture's identity and help groups understand its place in the world. The narrative may be less about literal accuracy and more about conveying the impact of an event on the collective psyche, right? And that's where we get urban legends in like our contemporary storytelling format.
Bad movie.
I don't know. Urban Legends Final Cut, a masterpiece.
We'll talk about it
We
later.
can talk about that. Maybe we could put that one into Bad Movie Please Fix, Urban Legends, and just be like, well, if they just done the oral traditions of the Klamath tribe of Oregon. Actually, that would be cool. I don't know. I feel like a movie called Oral Traditions would have a slightly different.
I'm pretty sure there's a couple of those.
Come out at like 1 a.m. on Cinemax.
But like, yeah, no. If you just think about stuff like fucking the story about the escaped mental patient with the hook hand or something, that's just a way.
I know what you did last summer.
Well, no,
He's got a hook.
they had a hook hand in Urban Legend, but I mean like the actual like friend of a friend story. Yeah, I know, but he didn't have a hook hand. He had like a fucking fishing hook. He was wearing like a slicker.
It was like a ice. That was like the ice block.
It was like a fucking coastal fisherman killer. Also,
pretty sure it was the Gorton's fisherman.
We could talk about the tradition of horror stories portraying regional myths and legends, but I don't want to do that.
No, it'll go forever.
That'll just do it forever. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is already going. I mean,
It's already running long. But like,
It's our 1 year anniversary. We
saying,
do
like-
what we want.
we haven't stopped doing the oral traditions of storytelling. You know, like you ever hear the urban legend about the lady who fucking had like a beehive haircut, or like her hair was all moosed up and she walked through a spider web and then later fucking spider laid eggs in her hair?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Never heard that one? What about the shaking cactus?
What about Marilyn Manson removing his ribs so he
Boom.
could suck his own dick?
Marilyn Manson removing his ribs to suck his own dick? Everyone knows that fucking story. It's just a part of an oral tradition.
That was a pre-internet.
It may not be historically accurate, but
Gene Hackman or whoever getting his stomach pumped.
but
Everybody knew that story.
It does have a main message that we know to be true,
Yeah.
which is Marilyn Manson sucks dick.
Musically or personally, or I mean,
Moving on. So,
Okay.
I was reading this book. I was obsessed with this book a while ago. American historian Kathleen Duvall recorded in her book Native Nations that in her research, she was able to discover common astrological events in the legends of dozens of Native American tribes and was able to accurately place the events in a historical timeline by finding the same astrological events in European historical recordings. Things like eclipses, comets, supernovas. She went through this whole thing. Fucking cool book, Native Nations. I recommend.
Okay.
I think she won like a Pulitzer for it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but this lady just found all of these. Went to different tribes and recorded their stories and looked through commonalities. And she would find things like comets, and then find other tribes that had like the same sort of comet appear in their stories, and then it would apply it to like, oh, Halley's Comet was this year, and then was able to like pinpoint. So they're still putting together the actual like historiographical timeline of Native stuff, but it's through her research.
Mhm.
So I highly recommend it. That's all fucking awesome.
Interesting.
And that's just an example of how we know that like historical narratives through the oral tradition can be more accurate than anything else,
Okay.
right? Because I mean, look at like the European take on natives at the time. It's like, a bunch of savages. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. But like, they're telling the stories of all these things. And this happens, in the Polynesian tribes, the Maori. They've got all kinds of shit all through the place, all over the place. We as Americans, we've got our own like repeated oral tradition stories with like keys and urban legends and shit. Like the George Washington, the cherry tree story, right? The I cannot tell a lie is bullshit.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
But it's meant to convey that Washington was like virtuous. We got Paul Revere's Ride, which like reduces the idea of like a network of people informing up and down the New England coast that there were British sailors coming up and coming from land as well. But they reduce it to one guy. It was a rich guy, which is fun. But like one guy who rode all these hundreds of miles, by himself, which is fucking nonsense. Yeah, there's all kinds of shit like that. Been talking for a long time. But I gotta get all that. There's so much human history. There's just so much goddamn history.
Just keep going, man.
All right.
8 hours
All right. Okay.
for part 1.
Okay. So we're going to do some precursors to archaeology. Then we're going to move into the actual advent of archaeology, starting in like the 1700s and moving forward into contemporary times. Then we're going to do the usage of the Dewey Decimal System and cataloging logged information. Then we're going to move into the advent of museums, first as entertainment and then as actual historiographical tools. And then we're going to do the public education system, where it went wrong when it was providing historical context. And then we're going to move into, from there, we're gonna do what the American Museum of History, like the Society of American Museums, and then the Lighthouse Society around like the New England coast, how they're preserving history. Then we're gonna bounce back again because we got to cover Greece, because just Herodotus and Euripides were not necessarily exactly like the most accurate.
Did you
And then
mention Sumeria at all?
Yeah, I got to go back to ancient Sumeria. Okay, but then also we got to move into, we want to do Chinese history. I got to go back and do African history. That's real tough. Japan's got, We're gonna have to spend like an hour on Japan.
Okay.
What's that? The fucking island chain with all the tribes. We were just talking about it. The Andaman Islands. So we got to do the Andaman Islands again with like a deeper perspective. I want to move into Malaysia, then Eurasia, Mongolia. Mongolia's got a very rich history. I want to start with. Do you know that the ancient Mongolians worshipped the sky? That's cool.
So we got like 10 more episodes.
Then we got to we got to do it all right now. And then we got to we got to move into Russia. The caveman history and like Siberia and stuff is really cool.
Shit.
And then moving into the Orthodox religious schisms. Then Mongolia coming into Russia, and that's going to be a whole thing. And then we got to move a little bit further down. We're going to do Micronesia. Each island's got its own history. You got Tonga Tabu. You got to move it. Just the entire history of the Micronesian islands. That's going to take like 3 hours. Then we got to after that we got to have to go. Over to the Californian coast and then move up into Alaska. But we got to do prehistory on that too, because there's a whole like long ranging thing. And then we got to start doing each individual native tribe bit by bit, and then move down into Mexico. And then we got to get all Aztecs, and then move into South America.
You got to hop back overseas and get like Scandinavia and stuff like
Scandinavia.
that too.
We got to do the northern traditions in like Scandinavia, Finland.
Yeah,
because there's a whole thing about like fucking Inuits and natives up in the cold areas up there. Then we got to move back down into India, because India's. They got like a fuckload of gods. They got all this stuff.
Well, that's it, guys. There you have it. All of human history. Close the app. You don't have to listen to this podcast again because we just covered everything.
If you guys like this episode, holy shit. If you guys are still here
Fuck,
for
I
this
didn't
part.
cover 15th and 16th century European Renaissance antiquarianism.
Oh, no.
Fuck me.
We'll
Wealthy nobles and clergy collected ancient artifacts and sponsored excavations. However, their motive was not scientific study.
If you guys like this episode, the best way to tell us is to get on whatever you're listening to. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment on Spotify. Send us a message on deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram, Delete Everything Podcast. And if you are just stumped for what else you can do to listen to us some more, patreon.com/deleteeverythingpodcast. That is where you will get 40 plus 45, I think at this point, almost bonus episodes with new ones every single week. They are fun. They're shorter. They're crazier. You gotta get in there, man. You gotta get in there. And other than that, fucking thanks for hanging out for a year.
Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a big effort to put all this stuff together. Thank you for a year of listening. Even if you haven't started at the beginning, thanks for listening to our past year of effort, which has started, as you know, from pretty fucking low audio quality, just kind of being all over the place, to eventually joining up with Dr. Drew here and fucking
Dr. Drew. He doesn't want to be called
massively.
You don't want to be called Dr. Drew. There's a different guy named Dr. Drew.
Oh wait,
that guy
fuck
sucks.
yeah!
Is there a Dr. Drew?
Dr. Drew, the fucking guy, the Dr. Drew guy, with Adam Carolla, the fucking.
Who the fuck is Adam Carolla?
You dumbass.
They all suck. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
he's the guy who invented the Toyota Corolla.
So anyway, since we joined up with Drew, and now we've got like this fantastic studio and all this like great audio quality and like really upped our game. We've been working really really diligently. So thank you for a year of honestly a year of letting us follow like a dream. So it's been a pretty fantastic stuff. And
it's all you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Delete Everything. And as always, early excavations in the mid-18th century unearthed the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, sparking widespread fascination with antiquity. However, excavators often ignore the context of the finds. Famously, excavations destroyed what become an intriguing and famous part of the dig in Pompeii, which were the imprints of human bodies entombed in the volcanic ash. Someone digging in the archaeological area discovered there were voids in the ash, and one of them, they filled with plaster to see what was actually in the void. They found the imprints of people, animals, families, holding each other, lovers. It has become a hugely important part of history. This goes to show that in doing archaeological work, it's really hard to keep the evidence that you're trying to preserve unless you're very, very diligent. In another story, the founder of scientific archaeology and art history is a man named Johann Joachim Winckelmann. He was born in 1717. Winckelmann was one of the first to apply stylistic analysis to artifacts. He looked at art from Greek and Roman civilizations and found the differences between them and how Greek art had influenced Roman art, where it had been so previously that the art of the two societies was actually the same stylistic. He was able to discern the Greek culture as Europe was the result of people trying to show themselves as grand, Gothic beings, creating a kind of cultural theme. Roman art was imitating that style and idealizing its political and religious preferences.
century by modern standards, his method of using trenches to observe stratigraphic layers was way ahead of its time. It was also super fun because it destroyed so much Native American history at a time when the natives were literally watching you do it, going, hey, can you stop doing that? Which happened again and again and again in American history. It's something we have to live with. The 19th century saw archaeology embrace scientific principles. The development of stratigraphic digging, which is borrowed from geology, was a methodology that involved observing overlapping layers of earth to determine the chronological order of artifacts. Stratigraphy is what Dr. Alan Grant used in archaeological fossils as evidence